Hello crafty friends, welcome back to my channel. So today I thought we're gonna start with a scrapbooking layout, and I know it is, if you're like me, sometimes a little bit hard to figure out what am I gonna do and how gonna get started. So here is a little tip how I like to start some of my projects, and they're not all that way, but some are. And first, let's pull this aside here and let's go through papers first. So what I usually do is I just grab two plain white cardstock pieces because this gives you a clean background, and then I just gonna start looking through my photos. Now these photos are from a trip we took a couple years ago through to Colorado, and we went to the Dune National Parks, which is kind of funny if you're in the Rockies and all of a sudden you have dunes in the front of you. But before we get started, so let's think about what are we doing with all our pictures. If you're like me, in the past, what I usually would do is I get pictures. So my husband takes pictures, I take pictures, my mom and dad when they were here took pictures, and I got everybody's pictures. And then what do? So in the old days, I used to just order them, snap flush, Shutterfly, and you name it, when they had those specials going, and I just get them all there 4x6 or kind of 4x6s. So now they're all that way, all the same size. And what do? Because if I just put those down here, you don't really get a lot of photos on your page, or not in a nice way. So the first thing I usually like to do is I kind of start sorting through them. I was picking out pictures that are either were a little bit blurry, or I mean, they're all okay, but sometimes they're just showing you the same thing over and over again, and you really have to just wrap your mind around it and say, okay, I just have to put those aside that I really don't know or don't really use right now. And that's what I did. So I kind of like pushed these out, and I left it with these ones, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now 9 pictures is a lot. You can use like custom haired flip flaps or those half pages we have to put in this in between, but I didn't really want to keep them all in the same size because there's sometimes there are you know, things, there's too much bottom here, there's a date I don't really want in there, so I can cut these down, but that's the next step. So as of right now, in this case, I actually found a little sketch that I would like to use, and this is from the creative design team, and I think it's from book volume 1, no, it might be volume 2, gotta check this out. So I like really this layout because it has like 6 photos here, it's got a couple more on this side, and I thought, you know what, that kind of works. But as you can see, they're all like upright, so portrait style pictures beside these 3, and they're all 3x4s. So I have 4x6s, and mine are mostly, you know, landscape. So what can we do? Well, my first idea was, you know what, I just gonna flip this sketch. So I'm gonna turn this around, so one of my pages will be like this. That way I have my pictures going in landscape format, most of them, and then this one here I will do the same thing. So I have a lot of landscape, and then I have a 3, like the 3x3. It's not a problem because, you know, you can cut any picture down. And then these ones I will have to see what I will pick out of these, if I turn them into 3x4s, or if I do a little bit of variety of it. So we will see, but this was my idea. So I'm gonna take this and use it for my pictures. Now the next thing I was looking at was, okay, do I want them on white and kind of like use design paper to go around? But they're pretty, I wouldn't say blank, but you know, there's some sun, but then the bad weather came in, so I think they kind of get lost when you have a lot of white in the background. So I thought, why not use colored cardstock? And that was my second thought process. So I was picking out a couple of colors that I thought would work. So first I looked into greens, but since the foreground is not really green, there is some green in it, but it's only when you arrive there. When you're at the dunes, it's more like, you know, a burnt grass type, and it just didn't work. And because of the different lights, you know, you have some sunlight, you have some darker clouds coming in, it didn't really pop off the green. So I picked this is Journey, I think, Journey or Peacock, I have to check. And this is close to my heart's Harbor. And so this is more like a blue, this is more like a blue-green. And all I did was I just put my photos on here. Now let me see if I can get a few of either, just so you can see this with the different light situations when we arrived there. So I liked both of them. I think they both make those pictures pop really nicely, but I thought combined with the papers that I wanted to use, and one thing was I have a little bit of wood grain. It's a zip strip, and then I had this one laying around, and I really wanted to use that one as well. And as you can see here, so these are just two strips, two thinner strips, and then there's one across here. So I figured, okay, to pick up something out of this paper, I'm gonna use Glacier, and I use the lighter side. So these were my go-to colors according to the sketch here that I thought will work with either paper. It works with the Peacock, but it also, or with the Journey, but it also works with the Harbor. And then I was looking a little bit closer, and I'm like, you know, this greenish blue, that might be a light version, but it's not quite matching. This one, on the other hand, is a dead-on match. So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna go with the Harbor for now, keep this one off to the side for another project because I have more pictures, and we're gonna swap out the white ones with the Harbor ones. Okay, so let's take all our pictures together here and lay those down like so. And for right now, we're just playing with a little bit of the paper. Okay, so there's a lighter side, which will work as well. We can try both. So I leave one dark and one light. And let's put our papers down. So according to our sketch, remember, and you can use any sketch. So any sketch you have where you don't like the layout, or it doesn't fit your pictures, which sometimes they aren't. I do print my pictures nowadays, so I can make them better match. But I have a whole boatload that is just printed 4x6, so I have to work with those. Okay, so remember, I wanted to turn this around, so I'm gonna do my two strips down here, followed by the little wood grain. And then I have these two strips. Now, in the original layout, they were supposed to go this way, but now mine gonna be upright. So they will go like this, somewhere here in the center. There you have it. Let's just put them down this way for now. Okay. And like I said, the background works with either color. So now it's just a matter of how would my pictures fit in here. So I think this one would be a perfect one to cut down, and I can cut this down to a 3x4, which could be one of these down here. I cut this one down. I can cut this one down. So this is the beginning. And I try to do a little bit, you know, chronological, what we did, how we got here. So these would be the three ones that would come down like so. This could be a 3x3. Not quite sure yet. I have this one here, and I have this one, and on that one I do like the clouds and everything, but I might just cut this down. So they're asking for a 3x3 right here, so I might turn this around and do a little 3x3 with this one, and then we can cut this one down as well. And then I have one more which I can turn into a 3x4. So this is about how I think they will go down. Now, as of the background, and you might not see this on camera that well, I think when I look at the lighter side, it has a little bit more green tint to it. And I think these pictures will pop better on the grayish blue side, so the darker one. So I think I'm gonna flip this around. All right, so this is step one for me sometimes if I have a design that I want to use. So let me cut these papers down and turn this paper around, and then I come back and we check out how I did and if they all work. So before I start cutting these down, here's another little tip that I learned from one of the girls in my group, and it is even better if you have some acetate that you don't use anymore and you use like a Sharpie. I used vellum. This is cut to 3 and 3x4, and what it does is it kind of shines through, the picture shines through a little bit, so I can kind of like adjust and see what I would like best when I cut this picture down, if I have what I need in the picture, or you know, if it's better to use a smaller one or a bigger one. So I can just move this around because I need 3x4s. So for example, if I don't really need the road here in the foreground, so if I go here, I have a little bit of that road, or I can go over here, have this side, have a little bit. I might just do the middle. So I can move this around a little bit and see what will work for me. Same as here. So we could, you know, narrow this down a little bit, or you could even see maybe this works for, for 3x4, you know, like so. That would be an option too. You got the wavy road in here, and then I could even cut another one on this side, or I could make a second one, maybe a 3x3 out of this one. So, you know, these give you just a little better idea where to cut. So I'm going to play with these and then cut them down and be right back. Okay, so now I cut my papers, my pictures down just a tad, and let's see how we're doing. So this is page 1, or the left page. So as we decided already, I'm going to flip this over so I have my 3 pieces right here. Then I could have one up right here, or I maybe do it down here, and then we have one smaller one which naturally is down here, but I might just tuck this in here. But then I also have to think about, okay, there's gonna be a title in here as well, so I'm not quite sure if I'm gonna use this, so I will see. I could put this one down here, but I actually like it over here because it's kind of like, you know, is the start, the entrance. So I could move it down here and then just leave this room for a title, or we could just move this one over here a little bit, and then the Dunes National Park, and I might just put this one up here, put this in the center, and then we pull this up a little bit. So I'm gonna play with those, and maybe this is gonna be a 3x3 too. Not quite sure, because I have these 2 lines right here, and I mean, you see the mountains there a little bit, but I might change my mind about that one, so we'll see. And then on this side, I again have my 3 centered pictures, and then we have one 3x3, and I just cut, you know, there was a lot of clouds and everything which looked really cool, but I don't think it was a little bit too much, so I might move this over a little bit. And then we leave this one here. And then I have this one here. So we could do these two here. And then it actually has another one up here, but I'm not sure. So let me work with this. But I think this one is pretty much as it should be. And this one, I have to see the title that I'm gonna come up with. And I'm not quite sure if I use this. Okay, so before we get adhering to the papers, let me put a little bit of gray edging on here, just a little bit. Sometimes you have this very fine white strip because it's right against the gray one that you were cutting, and it just it looks weird. So I'm just gonna go and even that out. So just give it a little bit of color, and you can tell here how different it looks with or without. Like, see this thin line here? It's nothing spectacular, but if I edge it, as you can see, it kind of like blends in. Okay, so now that we have our papers edged, I still haven't adhered everything down because I was playing around. I was looking for a title, and I meant to cut it with my Cricut, but I figured, so this is just to show you, you know, with just a few pieces of design paper, cardstock, and maybe a few dies you have at home, you can build an entire layout without all the fancy hoops and machines and everything. So I stayed away from the Cricut, but I do have this really skinny alphabet die from Close to My Heart still, and this creates these really great skinny letters. And I thought it would be cool if the title would be like on this side, because I have otherwise a whole bunch of decorations here already cut out, which is like shortbread, and these are made from glacier. This is sage, so I just cut a whole bunch to see which one I wanted to use. Now they have the title here, but remember we are turning this around. So, and I like the idea because it is a very long title, and I figured this is actually the perfect spot to put the title down here. Now I don't really want that much blue to see here, so I might move this one over just a tad, so we can actually put this one down here. Well, actually a little bit higher maybe, and then this one goes right at the edge of that glacier piece here, so it has a ground, you know, it's not hanging in midair. So this is what we're gonna do on this side. And then we have all these embellishments, so I don't really have much room to put anything here, but we will see. And then we keep this one here. Just gonna go and leave it with this one. Then we have this here. So this one I would like to go a little bit further over, and then I can start just laying out my little embellishments. Okay, let's see. So let's build a few clusters. So these are actually, I cut these ones out from a Stampin'Up set, which is called, where's my set here? Yes, there it is. So it's from the Seaside Wishes, and the die cuts come with this piece that goes into an embossing folder, so you can emboss and die cut at the same time. But they also have these two, and they're in two different sizes, and they kind of cut out these really lacy, pretty pieces, which I thought is a perfect decoration. It doesn't have to be just C. And then these, yes, so we have this little piece here, which are these ones, and there you have these little flowers, or actually this is the set, this one right here, and then this one goes on top. So you actually can see the flower. You can cut the flower in a different color, but I thought it doesn't really matter because they're just pretty twigs on their own, so I'm gonna use those. And then there's this one here, which is this one, and I could stamp, and I might put some stamp on this one because this is the stamp that goes along with it, but for now I just leave it, and we'll see how I put them inside my little layout here. So remember, when you put clusters up, you want to go like in a triangle. Now this is already pretty much covered, but we could put a little bit on here. Okay, so while I start fuzzing around with the little pieces, and you can see me moving them back and forth and changing things, so it's just a random stuck together. I try to make the lacy parts evenly distributed, so I'm gonna put one in the upper left, and then one down on the bottom, and then a third one on the side. But you will notice at one point I'm gonna move that right picture to the bottom and put my cluster above it, because I just ran out of space on the side. And all this fudging around and putting in them here and there, it's just really personal preferences, so there's no right or wrong way. I just try to evenly put colors in, and here you can see that I put them nicely on the side, and later when I adhere my pictures down, I got a little bit too far to the right on the right page, and I lose my room there, so I had to end up moving the picture down, but I like it better that way. I also use a little bit of a brown toffee ink to go over the lacy pieces, just a little bit on the edges to give it a little bit definition. You will see this later in the still photos maybe. And other than that, yeah, it's just a matter of trying and moving things around. So this is the longest that it takes normally for embellishment. So I think this is where I'm gonna leave these, and yes, I might stamp them. So for now I just cut them out, and that's always a good thing. I always like to do extras, because especially in these colors you can also always use them for something else, and that way they're already cut out for you. And you can use whatever you have. I mean, you don't have to use what I use here, and like I said, you might not have those anyway, so just be creative and find something that will work for your pictures. So I'm just gonna adhere them down, and I might, should we put a little bit glitter on there? Maybe just a thin strip here. Let's see. I think that might be a good idea. So I keep my glitter papers all together here, and that might be nice. Just a little bit. What do you think? Could put it down here. I think that's a good idea. I don't want to use one of these delicate ones, that's too much, but I think just like a 1/4 inch strip. Let me cut this out, come back, and we will see what it looks like. Okay, so I just laid this down just to give you an idea, but I think this just draws your eyes to the title too, so I think I like that one. And then maybe we put one down here too, just to give it a little bit more interest here. What do you think? I think that little bit of glitter just finishes us off. I mean, you could put this down here, but I like it kind of like framing these two. And if we put it on this side, I like it here, because if I put it on this side, it, you know, kind of disappears between the two, and this is kind of a blank spot here, so I think this is the perfect placement there. Still have to use, gonna think about this cluster here. If I tuck this behind the picture, and I might mat this too, maybe. Okay, let me adhere the papers down and all my letters, and then we come back and look and see if something else is missing. I'll be right back. Okay, so before we adhere everything on this side, I also thought, okay, maybe a few captions. And I don't have stickers with this sheet because I don't have anything left of that was all what the paper pack that was left. But I have this Remember This Moment set, and it has these cute little phrases, which is really nice because you can use them as little embellishments on your layouts too. So I just stamped them just randomly here on a strip of white paper, which is like 1/2 inch. And then what I do is I'm gonna cut a V, but maybe we also can cut them down a little bit. So where's my paper tool? And I just used this trimmer here, just so we can get a little bit more off the side here, because this is really nice and sharp and works great. Okay, let's do the other side. There we are. Just to make it a tiny little bit skinnier. Okay. And it is a little bit tricky. I need to use a little Post-it note to get this in there. Sometimes when these are too skinny, what I do is I just take a Post-it note. It's like an extended handle. Put the sticky part on here, and this way I can move it in, position it. That looks good. And there we have it. So it's a little bit skinnier. Okay. So yeah, now we just put in a little bit shorter here. Little dovetail. 1 and 2. And then we do the same with this one here. And we just add them to our little cluster. So if you have word stickers, and sometimes they can be like Close to My Heart has these, used to have the zip strip, what we called it. It's the branding strip, which has on one side the information of the paper pack you're using and the colors, and the other side is a border like this one. So this is one of these. And sometimes they come with words too, so it's really nice if you have something like this to just hold on to it, because you never know. All right, so it's a beautiful right, and I would say we put this down there, and doesn't let's change the whole thing right away there. So let me put these papers down here first. Everything is adhered beside our embellishments. Now we can go back to our little clusters that we made. And I'm gonna leave this one down here, and we're gonna do 2 here, and maybe we're putting this one down here. I like that. And then we have one more here. Now naturally now I went too far over, but that's all right. We're gonna put these ones down here. Okay, so I think this is kind of where I'm gonna leave it. So here are my little captions, and then this one I actually had to cut off here because I had my little dovetail going this way, so I wanted it to go this way, and I think this is where I'm gonna put my little embellishments. I just have to tuck them in a little bit more, and this will be my journaling strips here, so I'm not quite sure how I might just offset them a little bit to give it more interest. So I think they can be skinnier too, but I think this is perfect here for a little bit of journaling. And then we might put a couple of dots in there and call it done. And these two things, so this one is hanging a little bit in the air, so I thought maybe I use the ones that I cut off here and just put them here. There you go. I think that's what I'm gonna do. So I will adhere everything back. So let's adhere our last piece to this cluster above here. And as you can see, I moved that picture down to the bottom, and that was actually a very happy accident that I put my pictures too far to the right, because I like that cluster up there way better than on the bottom. So let's give it a moment to adhere. And in the meantime, I take some foam adhesive on the back of those wording strips, and I raise them when I put them on my cluster. It just gives it a little bit extra three-dimensional outlook. And I love these little wording strips. I think they just finishing off these embellishments. And if you don't have matching stems, or you don't want to go down that road and do stamping, you don't have stickers, just cut yourself a couple pieces of cardstock or paper and use your own handwriting. Create your own titles. There's nothing wrong using your own handwriting. Actually, it always puts a nice character to a page when you use your own handwriting. So all in all, I think we're pretty much done, beside maybe a couple of dots or bling. So let's start with the dots here. These are some old dots I had in my stash, and I just like to cut them apart. I keep the backing on them so they're not sticky, and that way I can move them around and see if I like where I put them, or if they look good to me. And in this case, they look nice, but they're too tone and tone for my taste. So I think I have to switch to the rhinestones. That would be my next choice. And rhinestones work with everything, so you can't go wrong. And they're all the same size, so I can just use those and put those in between, and I think they will pop up a little bit better than the blue dots right now. And so I will remove those and just use my rhinestones to put an extra bling on there. And let's see what it looks like when we put the rhinestones in those places here. And instead of taking them or cutting them off, because like I said, they usually pretty much work with everything, I'm gonna use my scissors, the tip of my scissors, and I just gonna push them off the carrier sheet. That way I can position them right where I want them. They don't go flying off on me. And I can just put them right in between there. And I go by the rules of three. So the rules of three is just an uneven number of embellishments is always good to have on a page. It's pleasing for the eyes, but sometimes I have 4 on there, or 6. I mean, it all depends on what my gut tells me. Sometimes it just feels better to have one extra one, but here in this case I'm just going with the 3s. So all in all, here's our finished page layout. I really like how this turned out. I think we have plenty of pictures on there to show the day we arrived there and what we had seen, and the bad weather we're moving in. I'm glad I got rid of some of those photos that I had extra. I really love the sketch that I found, and as you can see how I made it work, even so my photos were not the right direction. But you can change any layout, just flip it around, you know, make it work for your pictures. I mean, there's nothing wrong to use this as a starting point and then go from there and create your own. But I always love to work with a sketch because it really makes it easy to start putting your pages together, especially when you have too many pictures and you don't know really where to start. That's a great point. So if you enjoyed this video, I would love to have you giving me a thumbs up, and if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my channel. And I hope you will be back here next week for another video. I'm gonna work on more projects. I have more dunes pictures to take, so see you back here next week, and thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye bye.